Hello, everyone. It's me back again. Let me know if my mic's sounding good and let me know how you are. Say hi in the chat and give me like a big update on your day. Also, I'm not being joined by Bahaj today, unfortunately, but I am joined by Noreg, Bahaj's sweet IKEA stuffy brother. This is Noreg, for those who don't know. I just got back from work and I'm getting straight back into some more coding right away while my brain's already warmed up. Oh, let me drop the check-in link in the chat. Oh, actually, I have the check-in link in my slides. Let me get those for everyone. Here, I'll share the webpage for how to check in. Share screen, Chrome tab, right here. Hi, Akaisha. I'm going to guess Akaisha, that's a 9 in the middle, but I'm going to guess the 9 is an I, even though that has absolutely no knowledge for that. Okay, here's the link to the workshop. I dropped that in. So check in, make sure you check in to get all your points and everything and get credit for attending this workshop. So if I can get like a big list in the chat on, does anyone who here has like heard of Bootstrap before? Who here does some CSS HTML coding? Like just give me all your tech backgrounds. What web dev experience do we have here? Hello HI4K underscore. I don't know how I would pronounce that. H14K underscore. So for this, I wrote this workshop under the impression people would have like basic HTML experience, maybe some JavaScript. But for those who don't know, Bootstrap just is a way to help you build your websites prettier and faster. And we'll go more into that in a sec as we wait for everyone to roll in. Let me get a quick check-in banner up. I see one person's used Bootstrap before. And I also see a little bit of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript experience. HTML, CSS, and a bit of JavaScript experience. So it sounds like we have a good bit of like basic web dev experience. Good starting point. Awesome. And how has everyone's day been going? Like, how have the other workshops been? What workshops have you all seen? What have you all liked? Just what brings you to this workshop today as well? A little survey for the crowd. I'm going to try to make this like a little bit of an interactive workshop too. Have some activities planned. So make sure you have an IDE pulled up. Maybe like VS Code is what I'll be using probably. But you can use literally anything you want, even if it's just a notes file. Oh yeah, so I was going to go over check-in. So to check in case you've never done it before, make sure you're logged in the corner here, and then you can log in and register. Hopefully, yeah, okay, just logged in for me, which is great. And then you can register and check in, and then you're all checked in. You can join the event. Is this event, does this lead to the Twitch? No, wait, we're gonna, okay, yeah. Then if you click here, it would lead you to the Twitch, but not that that's relevant to everyone since you're already on stream. Ooh, I see that you went to the Kanban workshop this morning? Yeah. I use Kanban at work a lot, so I'm glad that someone was teaching it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that to see how that went. I didn't get to watch it because I work a 9 to 5 and it's like 5 p.m. EST where I'm at. Stop the share of my screen. We use agile programming, so all that knowledge is like really good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen here. I stole the MLH slides so that I wouldn't have to make my own slide deck. So perfect. Okay. So first of all, I made a tiny URL for the check-in. I should have put that up, but I forgot I made this tiny URL for the check-in so that people don't have to type in the big URL when I have the comment displayed. So I'm gonna write that instead. URL.com says Danielle check-in. And this should bring you to the correct check-in page. Let me make sure that still works. Danielle check-in. Real tinyurl.com/Danielle check-in. So that will lead you into the check-in form. I'm gonna pin this right here so people can see it as they come in. But make sure you check in to the session. Now let's go a little bit into just what is Bootstrap. So I saw some people had some knowledge of Bootstrap, like just basic knowledge. Has anyone gone really intense into Bootstrap? Does anyone like have a good definition of what it is that they can share? Or are we starting completely from scratch? Just how much knowledge do we have on Bootstrap so far? See some more just basic knowledge, basic understanding. Okay. Well, in short, Bootstrap just makes your website prettier a lot faster. Because like it's in HTML and like CSS, it's really difficult to get a good looking website. Like it's just you have to go through like coding everything in CSS to make it work. Bootstrap can just take care of a lot of this for you just in one simple step. So there are two ways to get it actually. The first way is to download it, meaning like you can download all of Bootstrap, save it into your files, into your project. And the pros of this is that it'll make your page load a lot faster. Like since the data is right there, it's easy to access. You don't have to make a call to the internet or anything to get that information. So it's really quick. But the con is it's going to take up a lot of your storage space. So if your project like there's the whole idea of you need to like find a right balance between taking up your file taking up too much storage or taking up too much or just being too slow. Like the problem with this is that it'll cause your web page to load a lot faster, but it'll take up a lot more storage space. So if you're doing a project that already takes up a lot of space and you are running low on like ways that you can and like you just can't like fit uh that much data into whatever like platform you're using, then you're going to not want to use this method. But the second method is through a content delivery network. This is actually the method we're going to be using today. This just means you're including a link in your project. This is going to take up no storage space besides that one line, but it's going to take a lot longer to load in the page styles than it would with the first method. So we're going to use this method because it's my favorite method and we don't really have any storage limitations here today. But just know that this other option is available if you did need it. So this method is called the content delivery network. A content delivery network is just like we are getting we are going to send a request to the internet to get this information and the internet is going to give us that information. It's going to deliver that information directly from the internet. So now let's build some stuff. So I hope everyone has a good IDE installed. I'm going to be using VS Code for this one. And let's go into like how to actually download Bootstrap. So the Bootstrap website has a lot of the data that you're going to need, and we're going to be referencing this a lot throughout. So I'm going to drop the link to that in the chat. Okay, it's coming through to everyone now. So this is the link to get Bootstrap online. You're going to want to look this up. And when you open it up, you're going to see, let me stop sharing real quick and share a better pit and share that screen. Yeah, so when you click that link that I sent in the chat, you're going to see something that looks a little bit like this. This is the home page to Bootstrap. You're going to get its quick start stuff, CDN links, next steps, all of that. This is for the newest version of Bootstraps. There's multiple versions. This is for version 5.2. And you'll see right here, this is the content delivery network links. So this is what you would include in your code. And I'm going to show you all how to include that. So this is the basic like HTML template. I can send that to you all if you need it, but then you'll see right here, link, rels, spread, style sheet, and then you have the link to the Bootstrap stuff. So that is actually this link right here on the web page. And if you include that right here in your code, that's all you're going to need to do just some very simple, basic Bootstrap work. It's so really that easy, and then you get access to all the Bootstrap stuff. So you can go ahead and give that a try now. Go ahead and open up your IDE, type in this basic HTML outline. If you're using VS Code, there's like ways you can just instantly open that up. Sounds like we got some basic HTML experience in the chat, so you should all be familiar with this, but let me know if you aren't. And then just try copying that link, this link right here, and see, and go ahead and put it into the link section on your IDE. And the proper formatting with that would be the same as with a regular CSS style sheet. Just link, rel, it's a style sheet, and then you include the link. There are other versions of this. Look, intro, how to include Bootstrap. There should be like other versions. Yeah, if you just look up like getting started introduction for Bootstrap documentation. You can even just see right here it says CSS style sheet, but this is a later version, and you can just copy that. But this is a much later version. Here, I'll copy and paste this one into the chat. So yeah, you can all include that. Okay. So let me know if you aren't ready yet, but I'm going to go ahead and get into our first activity. So let's test if this works now. So this is just a simple blue button that says make me. You can click on the button, but it doesn't do anything. So I'm just going to let you all have like a few minutes to just try to experiment with the Bootstrap documentation and see if you can make this. As a hint, this whole thing should just be one line to implement after you already implement the style sheet that we did in the last step. And if anyone has any questions on implementing that style sheet, feel free to drop it in the comments. I'll give like 1 more minute for exploration. Like just take this time to really get you situated with the Bootstrap website and then familiar with some concepts, and then I can go over how to actually do this. For this first activity, I'm just going to show you all with my slides. But if you'd like me to live program this or go over anything again, always feel free to just let me know in the chat. Okay. Is everyone good? Was anyone able to solve it? Is anyone still working on it? Type in the chat. Okay. So, in case you still need a little more help with it, so right here you can see, like, if you're looking at the Bootstrap documentation, there is a search bar right there. So going over here, you can see the search bar right here. And with this search bar, you can type literally whatever you want. So if we look for buttons, that'll take us automatically to the Bootstrap's buttons page, where we can find a lot of information about all the different types of buttons that Bootstrap does. So looking at the page and looking at the one that we are trying to make, this blue Make Me button, you might see that this looks very similar to this primary button right here. Meaning, all you have to do to make that blue Make Me button is copy this code right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Copy this code right here, this one line, and as long as you have Bootstrap set up, then it should just work. And that's the amazing thing about Bootstrap. This one line of code, you see this is where I put it in my body of my code. And I changed, of course, the text from primary to Make Me, but without having to change anything else, it just put the button right in my code. Now, of course, I would have to use JavaScript or something to make the button usable, but, or like not even, like I could have also just put an href in, but depending on what you're trying to do with it. But yeah, it's just as simple as that. And we have like a nice, good looking button that fits whatever theme you're working on. So let's head to the next activity if there's no questions on that one. So this is the next activity, and I'll go ahead and get you all started on this, but try now with this new knowledge of how the Bootstrap website works to make this drop-down button. And I don't want you just to make the drop-down button. Make this drop-down button with links that work. So I put a little link there to my LinkedIn, which I'm going to drop you the two links. So the first link is make it go to the MLH website. And then with the second one, make it go to my LinkedIn. And I'll give you all the links for that. Okay, I dropped your two links in the chat. So go ahead and make a drop-down button that leads to those two links. And what you'll notice is it's actually quite simple just to make a drop-down button that's fully functional and actually lead you somewhere. And that's what's amazing about Bootstrap is just how easy it is to get things to work. And Bootstrap isn't the only content delivery network out there that works like this. There's a lot of other ones. This is just the focus of our workshop. So this is a good opening, a good starter content delivery network. A good beginner one to try. I'll give a few more, not a few more seconds. I'm going to give a few more minutes on that one, like 2 or 3, to give you all a chance to explore. Meanwhile, like we can go ahead and explore other parts of the website too. And of course, let me know if you figured it out. Drop it in the chat. Yeah. But other things you'll notice about this button section is that there were actually plenty of other options to click on. So you could have copied any of these types of buttons. There's like this secondary button, which is this gray button. You might notice that that's very similar to the button that I have displayed here. And there is like just all of these buttons have are just a very simple one line to recreate. And then of course you can edit this information to make it your own. And this web page also goes into different button sizes, active states, disabled states, meaning like non-clickable buttons, things like that. Hello, I'm Matt. For the people just joining now, we're working on Bootstrap activities. So everyone's just taking a moment to set up drop-down buttons. So if you want to pull up an ID and attempt to set up your own drop-down, feel free to join us. Matt says, I had the scariest ad before this. I like legit screamed. What I'm assuming you're coming from Twitch if you have an ad, but what was the ad like? That's my fear with like sharing YouTube videos and workshops and everything. I'm like, what if like this terrifying ad comes up or like a totally not appropriate ad comes up? That would just be terrifying and one of my worst fears as a presenter. Also, if anyone new coming to the chat needs help setting up, feel free to ask. Oh my gosh, it's for the Smile horror film, that ad. I watched that ad once, and I'm usually pretty good with horror movies, honestly. I think I'm pretty good with it, but after I watched that ad, I was seeing the face of that girl. Like, I went to the bathroom afterwards, and I was just seeing her face in my head, like, for the next 20 minutes. And whenever her ad comes on now, I just can't watch it. I have to skip it. It's just so creepy looking. I don't know what makes me so uneased about someone smiling that much. And I think it's the idea of like there being no escape from like the illusions that she was facing. I don't know if I'm pretty good with horror movies. I like horror movies. I'm a big horror movie fan, but just the thought of like ugh, just the thought of that specific movie, I don't know if I can watch it. Also, like I watched a horror movie when I was a kid about like mirrors, just like seeing in like mirrors and like the idea of your reflection doing something different than you, that terrifies me too. You also said it's 2200, so that's like 10 p.m. How like what country are you streaming from? Also, where country is everyone streaming up? Let me know in the chat. Also, turn your lights on after watching that ad. Jeez. Okay, and I'm gonna give one more minute on the drop down button. Feel free to drop any questions if you have them before I give the big reveal of the result. England, cool. Okay, so let me get to how to do this. So this one's a little more complicated. Sorry, I'm gonna cough. Oh, I don't have my water today, so my throat is so dry. But um so drop down menus. So this is like what you if you look up drop down menu on the Bootstrap website, you'll see this code right here. And of course you can just put that code in. But what you might notice is like it'll build the drop down button, but the drop down button won't be clickable. So you might be thinking like, I don't know, you said it was just a like drop it in and then it'll work thing. Why is it not working? Well, if you read the overview, you might have noticed that dropdowns are built on a third-party library called popper.js. So you will need to use Popper for this. So now that you have this knowledge, I'll give you a few seconds to try to figure that out while I go get some water so I can stop coughing on camera. I'll be right back. Okay, now I'm back and unmuted. So, I got my water. I usually am very passionate about having my water cup on camera and also about like the mid-session stretch. But unfortunately today, well, I mean, I guess we can do a mid-session stretch right now, but it's only been 30 minutes, so we just got the water. Okay, so yeah, you have to add Popper in order to make this work. As someone in the chat said, a little spoiler, you may also want to check into jQuery as another thing. Or pooper. So you're gonna add that just like you did with the Bootstrap CSS file right here. You can see I added Popper. I also added Bootstrap scripts, but that was with the version of Bootstrap that I was using. If you're using version 5.1, you shouldn't have to include the second Bootstrap file for at least for this drop-down menu. And then this is what the full code would look like. Let me real quick just demo this live. Share screen. Let me do this whole window. Okay. So here's that activity. As you can see, like all I did was copy and paste the drop-down items. And then as all of you who know HTML and CSS would know, you would have to update the text right here into whatever text you want. And then you would update the links under href. And that's all you would need to do. And if you wanted to add more items, then you would just copy this, add your new item, include the link, and then include the new name. But everything else besides that is just already done for you. So then when you control click and open the live server, well, I have live server open, so I'm able to do that. But after you open the live server, then you can see right here I have a drop down button, and then I can click it, and it leads to whatever website. There's my LinkedIn. So right there, just with Bootstrap, you're able to create a fully functional website without having to put in any extra effort of your own, which is super amazing. As long as you have all the scripts and links that they tell you to download, then you're able to make whatever you want. So now we're on to our third activity of the day, which is to make a popover. Let me switch back to first screen share. But go ahead and look into popovers and see if you can figure out how to make that. And the popover we're trying to make today is a green popover click me button. And when you click on it, it'll put up this thing that says, boo, scary, right? Matt would like you to know, make sure you have Bootstrap JS and Pooper. And some special things I want to highlight about what we're working on here is that the alignment of this text is important. Notice it's under the button, not to the right of the button, and the color of this button is green. I'm going to highlight this comment because it's actually very useful for this one. Yeah, but things like these content delivery networks and APIs and everything like that are really important because there's no point in rebuilding like the same things over and over again when something on the internet is out there easy to use and free. So getting familiar with things like this are always going to be really useful. Isn't that right, Noreg? Wow, 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 wow. Feel free to type in the chat if you figured it out. And also, if you have any questions. I'm going to put another few minutes on this one. And also bring back that check-in link for anyone who hasn't checked in yet. Interesting. There's a tip from Matt in the Twitch chat that says once you built a site with Bootstrap, use purifycs.online to remove unused CSS and keep the web page speed fast as well. So that sounds super helpful because just any extra lines or any extra calls, lines not necessarily will cause a lot of extra work, or extra speed times, but definitely like just any extra calls or any unused like any doing of things that aren't necessary are going to cause more time, your webpage to take more time to load. I'm going to give one more minute of this. Does anyone have any good plans this weekend too? I plan to do an escape room. If you've never done an escape room before, it's like you go into a room, they don't lock it or anything because that's not allowed here. But you go into a room and you have to find clues to figure out how to get out of the room. I went to a really nice one last weekend. It was Paris themed. It was split into three different rooms. We first had to figure out how to get into the apartment building, and then once we got into the apartment building, we had to figure out how to get into like a different apartment building. But it's all in one little tiny room, and it usually takes me about like they give you 60 minutes to get through to everything, but it usually takes me about uh but it took us like I think 62 minutes or something last time. Another really good comment from Matt is the beauty of using Bootstrap CDN, however, is that your website likely isn't the first website that uses Bootstrap that the user has visited, meaning that they'll have it cached and it should load immediately. Cached, if those of you don't know, it just means like the user has like that kind of information already on their computer. So it'll come off so they're able to re-access that information a lot quicker. Okay, that's plenty of time. So let's go into how to solve it. Hello, Sammy Pack for that is joining late. We're about to finish explaining how to do our activity 3, which is to create this pop-up popover, and then we'll go into activity 4 on Bootstrap, which I could give you a catch up if you need to. It looks like we have a few people joining late. We're going over our third activity right now, and then I can catch you all up while we have people started up on activity 4. But the answer to our activity 3 is actually I wanted to highlight something about here. So we of course we are making a popover. So just like the other ones, you would look up how to do a popover. And then you would go to I wanted to highlight that if you click up here and you go into the latest, you'll actually see the quick start guide that just has like a nice template for you, and then you just copy this, and then as you saw Matt mentioned in the chat that it would be important to get the jQuery, Popper, and Bootstrap scripts, and those are all available right there. So if you copy all of these, just copy this whole script right here from the top of this to the bottom, and then put your code in the center right here. That'll actually make sure that your code will run correctly. So Um, I saw in the chat someone mentioned that the solution that to make the button green, you would have to use the button class success information. So just walking through how this would work, let me switch to my full screen right here. So if we have our basic template code, let me copy this over. So we copy our basic template code from the Bootstrap website right here. Let me replace that all. So we would have something that looks like this. Then in our body, what we're going to want to do is take out this hello world and replace it with the code on popovers. So over here, we would look up popover and copy that code. Let me get the example. Which one? Let me just take it from here. Oh shoot, it would be active before. Okay, there we go. So then it would be this code right here. Let me just copy this one. This code right here. Save and then run. And then we'll get something like that. But of course, to change the button color, we would need to use the class information. So it didn't say explicitly on here how to do a green button, but you can imply from knowing how to do a regular button from the button website that if you want a green button, you would have to use the button success class. So if we change the class right here from button danger to button success, and we run this code, then that would turn the button green. And then, of course, you're going to have to update the rest of your information. Oops. And then you're going to have to update the rest of your information, like all the content and everything, to get everything to pop up. Okay, so let's get you all started on activity 4 on the Bootstrap navbar. So, this is a challenge I have for you. So Bootstrap has navbar information, which you can of course look up just by doing navbar. But I wanted to see if anyone is able to recreate the whole Bootstrap navbar. Now, I made a little bit of a simplified version because I don't have these icons right here that you could include. Um, so I made a simplified version that didn't include the icons. And I wanted to see if you all are able to recreate that. And I'll zoom in on that here. Yeah, so go ahead and I'll give you all a few minutes to try this. And hello, Su Chow. I remember you from one of my other workshops. So awesome to see you back again. And if you all need, if for those of you that are coming here new, if you need a boost on how to get started, then you can check out this link that I'm dropping in the chat now, which is a documentation on how to do a Bootstrap navbar. If you aren't familiar with any Bootstrap or not familiar with any HTML, go ahead and let me know, and I can see if I can get you all started with that. Just like let me know what you need to fill in. And some of these things you're going to need to use regular like inline CSS for, but try to do as much as you can just using Bootstrap. Matt says you can get these icons on simpleicons.org. So if anyone wants to add those icons, go ahead and head to there and do that. And I don't have the exact color. Of course, you can just pen drop and see like what the purple is that they're using, that Bootstrap uses or something. I think I looked to figure out what color to use. I looked up just like Bootstrap has a list of like the colors they use for their buttons, but I ended up using this color right here for the purple. And then for the yellow, I wasn't able to find like the exact yellow. I ended up just using Bootstrap's yellow because I wanted like their warning button yellow because I wanted to just use Bootstrap for it, but that's not the yellow that they actually have on their header right here. But you should be able to do this right here, this Bootstrap logo with the border completely in Bootstrap. Well, of course, you would need to get the icon from the Bootstrap website, but should be able to do the rest. Here, I have this Bootstrap icon. I just inspected to get the icon. Or maybe I just looked it up. But I'm going to drop this icon in the chat for everyone. This one is a bit of a longer one, so let's break this in half and start with just like doing the left side first. And then I'll take a little pause. I'll give some time to do the right side. Bonus points if you can make like these clickable, the headers on the left side. I didn't make mine because I didn't feel like it. It was just we did that in the last activity, but if you could do that too, I'd be pretty impressed. I'm gonna give you 2 more minutes to get as much of the code done as possible before I start demoing the first part of it at least. Debating maybe I can go ahead and get started, but then I can do it like code with me style. I honestly forgot all the changes that I had to make to the original Bootstrap code to get all these adjustments. So that's why I'm thinking maybe since we have an extra time and this is our last activity, maybe I can just do some live code and see how that goes. So let's go ahead and just get into it. I'm just gonna share you all can see the uh the header on the Bootstrap website. So if you still need that image, then go ahead and just go back to that. But let me share my code screen. Oh no. Wait, don't look at this. This is the full code. Then we get a clean HTML slate. I don't know why my mic just muted, but you can see here, this is my code. Um, Over here we have all our scripts over here. We have our link, just like we've discussed before. And then getting into the body, walking through like how you might be doing this. If I was starting this activity, I would probably, let me just share my full screen so I can walk you through the whole process. Share the screen. So if I were doing this activity, I'd probably head to the Bootstrap website and head to their documents portion. And of course, like say I want to create a nav bar. And then from there, we might say like, okay, this looks like our, like find a nav bar that would look the most like what we would want to create. This is the new Bootstrap website. I want to go to the one that we were using. One. This is all for 5.1. Let me get my code for 4.0. We're going to use Bootstrap 4.0. So we go here and then we'd say, hey, I want to do a nav bar. Let's look at the nav bars. And then we might say like, this one looks pretty accurate. Let's see what else they have. This would be helpful because this looks like what we're trying to create. But this one overall seems like pretty accurate to what we want to create. So let's copy this one and stick that into our body. And then save and then control and see how that looks. So we're like, okay, this looks pretty good. Not very accurate to the website yet. Everything's on the left. Where to start? Let's start with including the image. So then we can see over here, like how they would include images through like just adding a new anchor point. If we even look closer in this code, we can see like these are all the list items, which are each individual thing here, like the home documentation examples. But then up here, they have like the navbar brand, which is the big text right here. So we want to replace this big text right here with the smaller picture. This one right here with the smaller picture. Oh, this one's the where it has the image. So we need to get the right link. I'm going to quickly just sneak the link from my source code so that I don't have to refine the link again. But replace that link, website link, and then we can see we now have the Bootstrap logo in the corner. So we're getting closer to what the website would look like. But then we're going to want to change definitely the background color. So changing the background color here, we're going to have to include the color. So you can see here in my finished version of the code, what I actually had to do here was I did it outside of Bootstrap. I did an inline CSS style. So if we add that to the nav class at the very top, just like you would with any other inline CSS, then when it loads, it should change the background of everything. Let me see, navbar dark. We have to take off the background light because that would probably overlay. Yeah, the background light is going to override our CSS styles. So then that would replace everything. But then the logo still doesn't look exactly right because you can see over here it would have this really cool background thing. But we can actually add a border with CSS. So if we go to where the image stuff would be, we can add a class with border light and a rounded. So let's just type this manually so we can see it in steps. So we can have class border in border dash light. Save that, and now we have this white border around it. Let me zoom in. But of course we want it rounded, and to make it rounded, we can simply just add the rounded keyword. And just like that, no complicated CSS, we create the Bootstrap logo. Then, just like anything else, to replace all the words at the top, we can just replace by typing them in. So we can know here it says boot home, then documentation, examples, theme, expo blog. So we can change that to home, documentation, theme, expo. And then let's copy one more list item to do blog. Taking a look. Oh, we now notice that we can't see the words at all because it's done a collapsed menu instead. So we need to switch this from a collapsed menu to a better theme, which now, so how we're going to do that is we're going to use nav expand large, and we're going to set the theme to navbar dark, because you see how the text is black right now. We want that in white instead, and setting it to navbar dark is going to change that. That there, when we set it to light, it changes everything to white. Should we have everything else here? Oh, right here we need to take out the collapse and change it with a just normal navbar. Do we actually have to add that? No, just change it to normal navbar div. Save. Oops, we still have a collapsed version. Let's see, what else are we missing here? We have a nav toggler. We have that button. It's a collapsing data toggle. Expand dark. What are we missing? Why is it still collapsing? So we still have something on here that's making it think it needs to collapse. Navbar expand. Maybe it's the toggler? Something is wrong here. Let's see. Oh, I think it was just that our screen was too zoomed in at the moment in time. Okay, that makes sense. You can see now we have all that stuff at the top. And another thing you missed is that I set documentation to active because the screenshot that I used was on the documentation page. And that gives us the whole left side. Let's check some comments here. Matt also says something very sad. Fun fact about Bootstrap: I learned it on 4.6 one day in 2021, and the next day 5.0 was released, and I cried after that. Very sad. It always sucks, but that's the life of a developer, right? You learn something and then it like becomes old news eventually. What do you do now? Because you mentioned like how you used to use Bootstraps a lot, but you don't do it anymore. Like what do you use now? Probably React if I had to take a guess. Also, everyone go ahead and continue on your left side if you haven't already. We're creating this. Feel free to look for those icons if you want. But we're just going to wrap up this left side, and then I'll be there for questions. But besides that, that is all I will have for you. Nice introduction to Bootstrap. That's what we're working on. I don't think I have any slides after this. Yeah, I don't. So these ones are a little harder than the left side, because you'll see that this one actually uses some knowledge that we thought of before. Right here we have a drop-down menu, and over here we have a button you can click. So now we're taking the two elements we worked on before, and we're actually putting them into the nav bar. So see if you all could do anything with that. Get you all started. We're going to start another div here just to keep everything separate from the left and right side. See where that is. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat if you have them. Okay, let's talk about it. So to do this part of the code, what you're going to have to do is create this separate section. Um, to make something happen on the left, you can use the navbar nav ml auto. So then you can see I can just put in some like basic buttons here. These are actually the buttons, the down below button we're going to be using. And I could go over how I made that. And you can see now they're forming on the left. Now right here, going into like how specifically I made this. So I used like all the button knowledge we used before. On the list of buttons, I used a a link button. So if we're going on to the Bootstrap website and you look up buttons, I'm using this one right here, link, because it's actually transparent. And then to give it a border, I used what we did in the previous section right here to get this, and it went ahead and gave it a border. So that means border warning, meaning it's the yellow color border. And I made it rounded just like we did with the Bootstrap button. And then I used this color FFC107 and changed it, of course, to download to make the download button. Now let's go into how to make it a drop down. So to make it a drop down, what we're gonna do here is copy, of course, go back to the Bootstrap website, look up the drop down stuff just like we did before, and we can go ahead and copy over our code that we did before. So in our old activity, I think that was activity 2 where we did that. We wrote all our code for a drop down. Just go ahead and copy that over. And then just drop it straight into the list. Let's see it in there. I get your code and you can drop it straight into the list. And it should work, assuming you had all the correct scripts and everything. And then from there, you can update your drop-down items and everything like that. And set it visually. So now going into like how I made it look, specifically how it looks like here. Um, because you know it comes in when you use a drop down menu as like a normal button. To make it not so normal looking, I changed it into I kept it as this like I just used like the CSS styles. I did background transparent. I mean, you can set it right here to button a link probably, and that would give you like a similar look to what we did here instead of doing background transparent. But then I also set border to none to get rid of that border look. So that's just another way to do it. And then after all of that, get something that looks a little bit like this. If you were able to recreate this, please do drop it into the Global Hack Week workshop chat. I love to see all the hard work you all did. Thank you all for chatting with me. This is all that I have for you all today, and I hope you all enjoyed. Go back to the beginning of the slide to bring up the MLH stuff. Yeah, here it is. Happy hacking, everyone. No, but really, do we have any more questions? Anything anyone wants me to show in particular? Because if not, I'll call it a workshop. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing a Flappy Bird in Python Pygame workshop. Come with basic knowledge of Python, or if you don't have basic knowledge of Python, still come anyway and let me know, and then I'll show you through all the little things. But that's all. And it'll be at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye, everyone. Bye.